Kirby, I know you've talked a lot about Jordan Davis and his impact, but I just curious, like in your mind, is there a way to overstate how good he's been? And when you kind of describe to people the impact of a nose tackle in today's college football game and his impact, how would you describe it?
I'll describe it as very impactful. I guess that doesn't help the description. I mean, his value, and I think when you talk about running the ball in the league we're in, you have to be able to have some sort of run game. You don't have to be dominant in the run game, but you got to be able to run the ball. And he makes us have more 3rd and 7 to 12s than we have 3rd and 2 to 4s, if you know what I mean. And just statistically, when you have 3rd and 2 to 4, which we had an inordinate amount against Kentucky and struggled some because they did a nice job on 2nd long, it affects the game. And when you have 3rd and 7 to 10, it helps you. And Jordan is a heavy impact on that because it's tough to run the ball when he's in there. You know, I think what he's done, he's made himself quicker, more agile, and his weight fluctuates from time to time, but he's much more effective when he's under 350. And he's taken it upon himself here lately to really work to be under 350. And I noticeably can tell a difference in him when he's 350 or less. I know that seems like a lot, but he's been higher than that.
Do you see people like advocating for him for the Heisman and say like, whoa, all right, let's go crazy here? Or do you say like, hey, you know, a guy like that should be getting mentioned for it?
I think it's unfortunate that defensive players don't get mentioned for it. And I'm not necessarily advocating Jordan. I'm advocating defensive players because I feel like the NFL values that. And if you look over time, outside of the quarterback position, which they have to draft, and they get drafted every year, 4 to 5 guys on average at quarterback. Outside of that, you have defensive players taking the top 10 every year because they can change the game, you know, whether it's pass rush or corner or somebody locking somebody down or whatever the position may be. But it is what it is, and it's an award that has become quarterback, receiver, running back heavy, and nothing but respect for the award. But certainly, some defensive players across the country deserve some kind of recognition. It's almost like you wish you could take one every year to New York as a defensive player because it's such a great event.
Kirby, now that you've had a chance to see JT a couple of days, what's been his progression like this week? Kind of that next step you were talking about, and from the quarterback standpoint, do you feel like you can get 2 quarterbacks enough reps to be ready to start to be able to carry the load every Saturday, or you know, is there a certain point where you have to kind of narrow down the reps for that position?
Well, I think you can get between the 1s and the 2s reps, you can get plenty of reps for 2 quarterbacks. You know what I mean? Our 1s get a little more than our 2s, but you know, you can go 50-50, you can go 70-30, you can go 60-40. We prescribe that as the week goes on. Carson Beck has taken less reps this week because JT has taken more reps. And the combination of Stetson and JT is to get them both prepared because there are 2 quarterbacks right now. So he's looked good. He's done a good job. I would be remiss if I could tell you everything he did today. That's why when we hang up this call, I go in and watch it and see it, you know, visually with my eyes. There's a lot of times at practice, I'm watching it from a defensive perspective. And then at night, I'm watching from a, you know, quarterback perspective and also talking to Coach Monken and the offensive staff about it. But he's done a good job. I wouldn't say that there's been a lot of limitations. It doesn't seem like there's been limitations in terms of what he can and can't do.
Next question to Mark Weiser, and then we'll go to Anthony Dasher.
Kirby, what has the secondary done well this season, and in particular at the cornerback and star positions with the turnover there in personnel?
Well, they've done their job. They've been effective at keeping our edges and in run support because a lot of people have tried to get out on the edge on us to avoid the interior run game. We've given up some explosive. We've given up some 50-50 balls, but they've been the beneficiary of good rush. And they've made some plays when they've gotten opportunities. You know, those guys have made some picks. Chris, Lewis, Keeley, and DK have all made them. And you punish people when they make mistakes, and you got to capitalize on those when they happen. We have not played our best game in the secondary. We have not played perfect, and we are not where we need to be. But we're a work in progress there, and the front has helped us buy some time to do the working.
I know you guys have had some drops against your defense the last couple of games. How much of that, though, is there any credit that goes to the defense for being in position and staying on a man until the play is complete?
I don't really know. I don't know what you're referencing there, I guess.
Well, I'm just saying that, is it all on a guy just having a drop, or is your guy, contributing by not giving up on a play if he's a step or two behind?
However you see it, I don't like for him to be a step or two behind.
Yeah,
And I certainly don't feel good about drops, because those are just things for other people to see in the future. But again, I don't really know what play you're referencing there.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, Coach, based on the success they had last year on the wheel route, just what's the key to successfully, defending that, and how prepared do you think your defense is for that this year?
Well, you'd have to define a wheel. I know the layman's term for you guys is a wheel route, but there's a lot of different ways to describe that wheel route. And they really did a great job, and we did a really poor job of covering that. And 90% of that is eye control. If you look at the right thing, then you tend to cover the thing. Now there's also the eye control, then there's the making the play. So sometimes you just don't make the play, and the guy's better than you, and he goes up and gets it. Then there's not even covering them, which is a lack of discipline, or we're not doing a good job as coaches of helping them in terms of what we play. But I can't tell you it won't happen again, because they run the same plays this year that they ran last year, and we're not changing our entire defense because of that. We've got answers for it, but there's things that can hurt you when you just play for the wheel that can hurt you other ways. I certainly don't want to give up explosive plays, whether that's a back out of the backfield, a tight end, a receiver, whatever it is. And we're going to do all we can to make sure that doesn't happen. But they also lead the country in rushing yards per attempt. So you can only protect the wheel so much when they're running the ball for 6 and 7 yards a clip.
Hey, next question to Mike Griffith, and then to Chip Towers.
A couple questions about your linebackers, Coach. One, Nakobe Dean compared to Roquan Smith, and two, how does Adam Anderson's role change perhaps when you play these mobile quarterbacks? I know you talked about him playing some star. Would this be a situation where we might see more Adam because of the mobility of the quarterbacks, and then the Nakobe Roquan comparison, please?
Yeah, I don't like comparisons. I'm just not a big fan of them. I don't really think they're always fair. I do think Nakobe has done a great job. He's the commander in chief of making our calls. He's very physical. He keys things really well. Very instinctive football player, as Roquan was as well. And then the other question is about Adam. Adam has given us the luxury of having a really fast, athletic guy, but the best thing Adam does is rush. And I think the best thing Coach Lanning has done has allowed him to rush. There were times early in his career that we asked Adam to spy and run down the quarterback and chase him down, and that's not a lot of sack production when you do that. He's freed Adam up to do what he does best, which is rush against the other team's offensive tackle. I can assure you there's a lot of teams that like seeing Adam spy over rushing on their tackle. So he's done a good job of doing that. He's also become a more complete every down player where he can play first and second down and do some more things.
Coach, it was nice to get a glimpse outside of the team practicing yesterday and seeing the quarterbacks and receivers work. I'm curious in particular on the receivers. Arian Smith, I'm not exactly sure how many games he's missed. Obviously, his play has been limited, and it seems like it started with a fairly minor injury. It was lower leg contusion, but obviously that's a guy. There's few people in the SEC that are as fast as he is. Also looked like Marcus Rosemary-Jacksank was really moving around really well, but it looks like overall that unit is close to as healthy as it might have been in a while. Is that true? And can you give us your assessment of Arian in particular?
Yeah, we're hoping to get Arian back. He's been closer each week. It is. It's just a lower leg contusion that has really bothered him when he plants and runs. But I mean, he's much closer this week. He's been on about a 50% pitch count. He's been repping with the twos, and he's getting reps. And I think he's looked better this week than he has in the past. We got to hope that continues the rest of the week. Jermaine's been bothered by the groin. He's fought through that. He's not 100%. Justin Robinson's got a little bit of a hamstring now. So he's banged up. Dom's still out. So I feel like we're better off than we were going into the Auburn game, but I don't feel like we're near where we need to be in terms of at wide receivers. But I do think Aaron will be back, and Marcus Rosenby's done a good job this week, and Jermaine's been out there practicing. So just those three alone are a huge boost.
Okay, next question to Dean Legge, and then we'll go to Tyler Griffith with Red and Black.
Hey, Kirby. Dan Mullen has a reputation of being one of the best kind of play callers in college football. What makes it challenging to deal with his offenses? And then secondly, what's your favorite Halloween candy? What can you not live without?
Sour Patch Kids. The best thing about Dan Mullen is he has packages of plays to accentuate his playmakers. So whether it was Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney, whoever it might be, he's always had the ability at Mississippi State, where he may not have had as many playmakers as he's had at Florida. He knows how to get them the ball. He does it in ways that he creates confusion. He moves people around. I think he's gotten better from, there was times at Mississippi State where I thought he had done the same thing for a long time. Now he's got more presentation to what he does, and did a good job of that last year. And I mean, we all learn from other people. So it's like, there's a copycat element to what we all do defensively and offensively, but he's taken what other NFL teams and other college teams do well and added it to his offense to get his players the ball.
In regards to the Florida quarterbacks, you mentioned the other day that you didn't think there was anything they did different schematically between the two. What do you think that they do that's so successful that might be different than, like, say, some of the other mobile quarterbacks like KJ Jefferson or Bo Nix that helps them, to lead the country in yards per carry?
Well, they're probably faster than KJ. They have a offensive line that is really big. They have a run game scheme that's built to allow the quarterback to run. Dan doesn't abort the run. He uses the run game to set up his play actions. And when you least expect it, he runs the quarterback, and those guys are really good runners. It's just a different dynamic than KJ. KJ is a big physical guy. These guys are elusive and powerful, and they throw the ball well too. And they've got a good supporting cast around them. As a whole, I'm talking about the wideouts.
All right, next question, Palmer Toms, and then to Jed May.
Hey, Kirby, wanted to ask, how have y'all used last year's loss to Florida as motivation this week, to try and get these guys ready? Obviously, it's a rivalry game, but how have you used last year maybe as a lesson or motivation this year?
Yeah, outside of the tape, of using the tape of the plays that we may see repeated or the looks that we may get, because a lot of the coaches are the same, not a lot. I don't try to use those extrinsic things. I've never had great experiences with that when you count on emotion to do that. And I don't want the players emotional the whole time. That's what the fan wants, but I want them thinking about what they got to do to win this game. And last year's game has nothing to do with this year's game.
Kirby, in y'all's defense, just from your point of view, what makes a good player at that star position, and what does good play at that position sort of allow y'all to do, I guess, with the defense as a whole?
Well, it's a position that's morphed. There's so many perimeter screens, and every play has 3 plays on it, which is why you see scoring going up, because the offense can be right more often. The star is in the crosshairs of all those plays. He's the guy they're reading. He's the guy they're blocking. He's the guy they're blitzing. He's the guy they're throwing off of. He's the guy they're box counting. So having a tough physical guy that's 6 foot, 205 pounds, that can run, that can cover, they don't grow anywhere. You don't just find them anywhere. So that position is critical. It keeps your edges. It sends everything back to the big guys. It does so many things in a defense number one, you better have two guys that can play it, because it's like playing linebacker nowadays in terms of the contact that's created for that position. You got to be able to take on guards, take on tackles. I mean, you just got to be tough and physical, and it's a tough position. Brady's done a good job, and losing Taki hurt because he was going to be able to spell Brady some, and Javon's done a good job embracing that. And he's still growing and getting better.
Okay, next question to Davis Baker and then Connor Raleigh.
Hey, Kirby. Earlier this year, you talked about Trayvon Walker potentially replacing some of Azeez Ojulari's production. How do you feel like his game has progressed this year, and how vital is his play to how well the defensive line has played as a whole this year?
He's an extreme part. I mean, he's a freak of nature when it comes to athletic ability for that size. I don't know, how many years it'll be before I coach a guy that's that big, that can run like that and has really good stamina and great toughness and effort. So his stats may not be, the best in the world, or may not be what Azeez's are, but he's playing really well. He's playing really physical, and he's playing a lot of snaps, and really proud of what he's doing in terms of leadership for our team.
Hey, Kirby, you talked a few seconds ago about Florida's quarterbacks and their ability to run. And that's obviously something Stetson brings to this offense. Going forward, not just this season, but in years future, is that something you want to incorporate more into this Georgia offense, having quarterbacks that do have the ability to run and not just scramble, but specifically quarterback designed runs?
You want to have that? Yeah, I'd love to have that. I'd love to have the perfect quarterback that runs 4.5. He's 6'4". He reads things. He's great in the pocket. I'd love to have that, but I'm not necessarily saying I have to have it. I got to have the guy that gives us the best chance to win. And within our system, does it require the quarterback to run? I think all quarterbacks have to have some mobility. There's not a really good quarterback that you see playing in the NFL that doesn't have a form of mobility, but all quarterbacks have different levels of that. And as long as you don't sacrifice decision-making and accuracy, which are the two greatest components of a quarterback, then yeah, I want a runner. But for every ounce of decision-making and accuracy I lose, then I'm willing to give up, some running ability.
Got time for one more question. Anybody want to jump in?
Following up on JT Daniels, how did you mention that he threw pain-free? What about as far as his movement and his adjustment to the speed of the game? Did you see enough to get a thought on that?
I thought watching Monday's practice, I thought he handled that well. Today's, I want to reserve judgment until I see it from the actual tape, but there's nothing there that I noticed as a problem for him. I mean, he moved around the pocket, made some throws. I didn't see all the periods because I'm not in both locations. So I get ready to watch that now and see how he does tomorrow too.
Thank you, Coach Smart. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.